We're going to get started. My name is Kyle Lee. I work here at the White House Office of Public Engagement, and I work on the Champions of Change program. So on behalf of the White House and our office, I just want to say thanks for coming. I also want to give a quick shout out to Zakiya Smith and Mary Wall, who did all the work putting this event together. I'll just hand it over to Zakiya.
Well, thank you all for really being champions of change, first of all, and the work that you're doing in your communities, and for making it to DC on such short notice to join us and coming through the wind and the fire and the rain and all of that. Just want to introduce my boss, Melody Barnes. She's the director of the Domestic Policy Council here and coordinates all of our education work at the White House. Obviously, we work very closely with the Department of Education and with Dr. Brenda Dan Messier, the Assistant Secretary for Adult and Vocational Education at the Department of Education. I think that Jane Oates will be on her way, but she is caught up in the line that caught up many of you. I may have mentioned this, but Mel will have to leave around 2:45, so when she does, we'll switch out with Jane, who I'm sure will be here at that time. And we'll just go around the room and kind of facilitate a more organic discussion. Don't feel like you have to give your whole spiel about your college, because we put that all on the website with your bios and the links to your institutions afterwards. But we do want to hear more about what you're doing and what you're doing that works and how we can be helpful. So with that, I think I'm actually going to step outside of the purview of this camera and allow you all to get started.
Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the White House, even though at the gate it may not have seemed that way. But thank you for persevering. And congratulations, as Zakiya said, for being champions of change. You all exemplify excellence in this area, and we know there are a number of other community colleges and community college leaders across the nation who are doing wonderful work, but obviously you all are just the best of the best, so thank you for being here. And just a couple of words to lead into our conversation. I think all of you all know, and certainly I've heard this as I've traveled around the country, that the relationship between economic competitiveness and education is direct and incontrovertible. Obviously, if we are going to, as the president says, win the future, we have to make sure that we are educating our youth and educating our young adults. We know that as we move forward, 8 out of 10 jobs, the vast majority of jobs, are going to require some kind of post-secondary education. And that's why early in the president's tenure, he set a critical goal.
We have a job for somebody to fix the door.
Right, I was going to say, clearly.
So you just created a job.
Right, exactly. One of our goals was not oiling the doors, but it will be. He set a critical goal of graduating the greatest proportion of college graduates in the world by the year 2020, that we had to attain that goal once again. And community colleges are a critical and essential element, as you all, we hope, will be educating an additional 5 million students to help us to reach that goal. And we know that's important so that our students are ready for the jobs of the future. In doing that, we have focused from the very, very beginning. We walked into very difficult economic times, but because community colleges, you all have done so much work, you all have been the places where so many people have gone to improve their skills, to get new skills, so that they're able to compete in this economy. And as a result, we wanted to do our share. And that includes a 15-fold increase in the federal investment in community colleges. It just didn't make sense to us that we weren't supporting the kind of work that you were doing. We also wanted to focus on the fact that through our jobs bill that the president just recently announced, that the kind of work that you're doing requires modernized facilities, so additional resources and funds through the Jobs Act, and also recognizing that your steps towards innovation and making sure that your curriculum was aligning with the kinds of jobs that are available in the regions where you're already working. So those are some of the more recent investments, but we weren't doing that just sitting in a silo. As many of you know, because I've gotten to know some of you over the course of the last few years, you all have gotten to know each other and many of my colleagues, we have considered our collaboration with you to be important. So the work that Dr. Biden has done, the summit that she led, the follow-up regional summits, the virtual convenings with Secretary Duncan have all been critical to informing our work. one of the things that we've been proudest of as a result of those conversations and what we've learned is at the same time that we passed the health care bill, we also passed a large higher education bill, which included $2 billion in resources that go into the community college career and training grant program that Brenda, who's an incredible Assistant Secretary at the Department of Education, and Jane, who will be here shortly, Assistant Secretary at the Department of Labor, have been working with our teams to make sure that that grant program goes in place. And as you know, funds will start to be dispersed from that program at the beginning of the new fiscal year. And that's going to help you continue to do your work as well as your colleagues around the country. So those are just some of the ways that we have been able to work with you over the past 2.5 years, but understand that that's just the beginning of our commitment to align our work with your expertise and with what you're doing around the country. We also know that we couldn't do that alone, as many of you know, and the partnerships that we've had with the Joyce Foundation, with the Lumina Foundation, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, and also with the Aspen Institute to start the Aspen Institute Prize. And I know we've got our finalists. We've got our finalists competing for that prize, sitting around this table, but also thinking and doing the intellectual work to support what you're doing and provide additional resources has been critical as well. So I will conclude just by saying this is the beginning of our partnership and our commitment. We are excited about the work that you're doing. You are literally changing the lives of individuals and families, so thank you for that. That's why you are champions of change, and we look forward to this conversation, both Brenda and Jane and I, when she gets here. And now I'd like to start out just by going around the room and having you introduce yourselves so everyone knows who's in the room. But in the course of doing that, if you could give us a sense, I was just talking a little bit about partnerships, but give us a sense of the kind of a partnership that's been really critical to your institution and developing the kind of curriculum that's helping students get jobs, helping them move them towards the jobs of the future. I think that'll be an interesting way to get our conversation started. So why don't I start out to my left?
Good afternoon, and certainly thank you for inviting us here and for the designation. My name is Charlene Dukes, and I'm the president of Prince George's Community College in Prince George's County, Maryland. And if I look at one partnership that has been critical for us in Prince George's County and certainly across the state of Maryland, it is something that we have just been able to achieve. And while the whole middle college movement is certainly well known across the country, and there are many institutions here where we visited to get some ideas about how to start one at Prince George's Community College in partnership with the Prince George's County Public Schools, I'm proud to announce that we opened this fall the first ever middle college in the state of Maryland at Prince George's Community College. We admitted our first class of 100 ninth graders. It is known as the Academy of Health Sciences, so the focus will be in the health sciences area. And these young people will graduate with both their high school diploma and their associate degree, and our first graduating class will be the class of 2015. So we're very excited about that. In some ways, we're rather late to that movement, but in other ways, given what we're talking about with K-12 school reform and partnerships, this really has been something that we're very proud of in the state of Maryland.
Okay. I'm Jack Friedlander. I'm the acting superintendent president at Santa Barbara City College in Santa Barbara, California. And we have so many different partnerships, but one that's been very long-lasting and evolving is with our major hospital called Cottage Health Systems, where they fund 5 or 6, I think 6 full-time faculty positions in nursing. And through that partnership, we've been able to evolve new programs such as health information technologies, cancer information registry, sonography. But we couldn't provide the level of nursing education at all levels had it not been for them funding 6 faculty positions ongoing for a long period of time.
Hi, I'm Bob Templin, president of Northern Virginia Community College, just across the river. A partnership that we have is one that I think would resonate with many around the table. As we know, to meet the president's goal of increasing the number of Americans who achieve a post-secondary credential, we're going to have to reach into populations that have historically not participated in post-secondary education. As we begin to do that, the sad fact is that a majority of those who come to us often are not prepared, don't have the knowledge and skill to do college-level work. And consequently, they often end in our remedial programs. And we have spent a lot of time through programs like Achieving the Dream, learning how to redesign our developmental and remedial programs. But our partnership focuses upon preventing the need for remediation by working with our schools and admitting our students in the 11th grade to a program called Pathway to the Baccalaureate, that we guarantee that students that enter that program, if they do what we say, come to Northern Virginia Community College, or NOVA as we call ourselves, and graduate, we guarantee their admission to a baccalaureate program. We now have 45 high schools and 6,500 kids involved, and they have a rate of success of 90%. These are made up of what we would profile as at-risk students. So these students who have historically not participated have the ability, but often lack the structure and the pathway to be successful.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be here. I'm Dave Gipp, president at United Tribes Technical College, and we're one of the 37 tribal colleges and universities across the nation. We're in Bismarck, North Dakota, and we serve about 87 different tribes at any one particular time. I'm very proud to say that we've been accredited one more time for 10 more years by the Higher Learning Commission, which is good. And we'll continue on. Along with our 17 two-year degree programs and 25 certificate programs, we are now offering 3 four-year degree programs that will begin to also add training areas and meeting the needs of our tribal population out there, of the 567 different tribes across the nation that we cater to and work with. I'll just highlight a couple of them that we're really trying to work with. One is a memorandum of agreement that we have with the Department of Interior to help produce more basic law enforcement officers and corrections officers for the reservation areas where we have a drastic need for more law enforcement officers, a huge shortage that we're addressing there under that MOU. The second is another area addressing the oil boom in North Dakota called the Bakken Formation, as one of the very largest, if not the largest, underground formation that's very, very deep in the earth. And we're going to be training at least 400 workers, ranging from welders and technologists in the course of the next several years to meet that need and help our tribes address some of those issues in terms of economic development, business development, and certainly employment. And so those are some of the areas that we will begin to work with, along with education, of course, and along with business development itself.
Excuse me, my name is Hector Gonzalez. I'm from Southwest Texas Junior College. One of the partnerships I'd like to talk about is in the area of healthcare, the allied health programs. 5 years ago, let me begin by saying we serve an area larger than at least 10 of our states. So we have a big service area, sparsely populated. There's a lot of empty space in between. There's 3 major cities in our area, and they came to us and said, we need help hiring nurses. We need to train more nurses, more RNs. And that's difficult to do in the communities that we serve because we don't have a big economies of scale. Working with our partners, and the clinical side or clinical portion of nursing is often a challenge because in a small community you may not have enough experiences, enough population to get the clinical aspect of the training. So what we've done is integrated distance learning education to keep the students from traveling to one central site, and they can stay in their community, receive the didactic, the lecture portion, and work with our area hospitals and get creative and use preceptors to help them fulfill that role of the clinical aspects of their nurse training. We've invested a lot of money, thanks to the Department of Labor, in simulations. We purchased simulated dummies, mannequins, to recreate those experiences that out in rural South Texas they may not have an opportunity to witness. So that has been a great assistance in giving them exposure to those clinical aspects that they may not have in other cases.
Hi, I'm Mary Graham, the president at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. We have several partnerships, and I'd love to share them all with you, but the one that comes to mind is one that we've recently entered into, and we do a lot of work with business and industry, heavy business and industry in the coastal area in Mississippi. And we work with the Mississippi Department of Employment Security, and we also work with the Department of Labor, and we've just recently purchased a $700,000 simulator, a crane simulator, to help with all industry on the coast that we can serve and train individuals in need of that. But we've just established a MOU with the Southern Company to be a regional training site, which covers several states in the coastal region. So as we develop those partnerships, we continue to grow and we continue to expand those offerings so that we become regionalized and we can do regional training across several states.
I'm Monica Posey. I'm from Cincinnati State Technical and Community College. We have wonderful programs in technologies. We actually have a Department of Labor Energy grant to support our programs in renewable energy and environmental. We have a grant that supports our nursing and allied health as well. But what we've been working on is that connection from high school to college and to employment. So we're part of the Greater Cincinnati STEM Partnership. And we work with the University of Cincinnati, but also with Cincinnati Public Schools and a range of different school districts, as well as corporations such as Procter & Gamble and General Electric, to bring high school students into college. And we've been able to have a STEM Summer Academy for the last 3 summers where we bring in 50 high school students. These were 11th and 12th graders. We actually bring them in and they take college courses. They receive college credit, about 6 to 9 credits, but they also are totally connected and engaged with STEM careers. And then we help move them into college when they're ready to apply. Some come to our institution, some go to others, but they are ready and their parents are ready, and it's been a wonderful experience for them and the families.
That's good. My name is Carol Pereira, and I'm the director of the Tennessee Technology Center, and I'm here today representing all 27 centers across the state of Tennessee. And statewide, our partnerships are varied, just as you would expect, as you would have, but a lot of our partnerships stem from working with our workforce investment boards, and that is huge in our state because not only do they help us start classes, help to keep us up to date on the needs of the business and industry, but just it's that good partnership that they can help us and we can help them by supplying good employees for the people that they're working with as well. We have some partnerships with the Nissan, the Hemlock's National Health Corporation, with the Allied Health. So we're real proud of the partnerships that the schools have and are just quite frankly dependent on that because we need our students to be the best employees possible. And so we work with business and industry in making sure that our competencies and our curricula matches what they need. So in the end it works out. So those partnerships are very important to us.
Good afternoon. I'm Dick Shank, and I'm president of Mott Community College in Flint, Michigan. Melody, you talked about the president telling us, asking us to make sure that we encourage students to complete degrees. What we have done at Mott is
have stepped up to the plate and provided us with qualified faculty, both with industry experience, but also a desire to teach. And so we have the best of both worlds. And so our ties with the business communities have been extremely tight. Our economic development division have done a wonderful job not only connecting with them, our academic side also done a wonderful job connecting with them. And of course, down the road, the students that we provide to them also need recertification, need continuing education. And guess what? We are the logical choice for them to come. So it's not just getting our student in the door, getting them graduated, getting them a job, but we see ourselves as also playing a part in their career planning and development. So we're extremely proud of that.
Good afternoon. Perry Ward, Lawson State Community College in Birmingham, Alabama. I bring you greetings from the state of Alabama and certainly want to thank the White House for this honor and the opportunity to share with you what we're doing in Alabama at Lawson State Community College. And as I've said here this afternoon and listened to many of you around the table, we're doing many of the same similar things with dual enrollment programs, career pathway programs, and there's something very special about community colleges. I've had the opportunity during my career to serve public university or private university and K-12 and two-year colleges. And I will say to you that there's nothing better than two-year colleges. It makes America work, and it makes Alabama special. We're doing a number of things, but the one I want to just quickly highlight this afternoon that's really our flagship at Lawson State is about 5 years ago, we kind of repackaged ourselves and initiated what's called the Alabama Center for Automotive Excellence. And with the Alabama Center of Automotive Excellence, more opportunities than we even imagined when we pulled it together. But about 10 years ago, Mercedes relocated in Alabama. And with Mercedes relocating, so did Hyundai and Honda and a number of other automotive entities. Well, we have grown around that and with that. And what we have now through the Alabama Center for Automotive Excellence that's offered at Lawson State is a program specifically with Toyota. We have the Toyota T10 where we train technicians to go from college directly into Toyota dealerships. We have a relationship and a special program with Ford, the Ford Asset Program, the General Motors ASEP programs, diesel mechanic programs, automotive body repair programs, and students just keep coming into that program. But the beauty of what we've been able to do with that is to grow partnerships out of that relationship, and we're actually training young men and some women for the future of what technology is now, because many of the vehicles we drive oftentimes have 25 to 30 computers on board that we simply never think about. When students then are able to come in and leave the institution really making a difference. But coupled with that, there's also been our move to work in the alternative fuels area. We have established partnerships with Alabama Gas, and we have put a compressed natural gas fueling station on campus so we can get people by and we can train them in the latest techniques. We're working with fleet manager programs to get them in to actually understand. Alabama Power, the statewide power entity, got jealous of Alabama Gas, and they too have put a charging station on campus because GM's coming out, I think, with the Volt, and people have to know how to work on those things, and it has to be understood by the technicians who will repair. So we're doing that on a college level. And the beauty of all of these relationships and these partnerships is that the dealers will provide the vehicles, the tools, the resources to make sure we keep technicians going for industry. People like Alabama Gas and Alabama Power are very interested in those relationships and to make sure that technicians are trained. And just a whole nother avenue that we oftentimes don't think about is the need to train fleet managers and fire departments and police departments about how you respond to a compressed natural gas vehicle. You simply can't show up and put water on it. You can't use the salt to get people out of a crashed hybrid vehicle or compressed natural gas because a spark could ignite an explosion. So there's a huge amount of knowledge that has to be disseminated and shared in the marketplace. And we formed some national partnerships with the National Alternative Fuels Training Program, and we're doing a lot of other things just in the hybrid training area, and we're very, very excited about that.
Well, thank you. I am Shockley Zalabat. I am the Chancellor of the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. And first of all, thanks for everyone for what I'm learning from around the table, but also for this invitation to come here today. I'm really here representing the Southern Colorado Higher Education Consortium, which is a group of 5 community colleges, 4 four-year institutions, and my institution, which is through the doctoral level. We've come together to try to create a system for student success in half of a state that is dominantly rural, with us being the most urban in Colorado Springs of the locations, where the educational outcomes historically have been the lowest in the state, with 1 in 10 age-eligible high school student having any form of post-secondary education. And we've come together as a group of collaborators who try to work very specifically on creating a network system to change those outcomes. We are focusing currently with a grant from the U.S. Department of Education on creating a different type of coursework for 30 college credit hours that will go into 309 high schools with regional areas, whether it's the community college or the four-year institutions most closely associated. But those 30 college credit hours will then transfer to any of us or into any of the AA programs in our entire region. All 5 of our AA programs are guaranteed admission into all 5 of our institutions, although we have a range of selectivity in our admissions rate, much as what Sandy was saying about how remarkable that is in terms of helping students see what is possible. We're also forming, across all 10 of us, an access program that will be run by each of the 10 institutions to bring more possibility thinking to our regions, directly tied from financial aid advising all the way through working with our chambers of commerce, others throughout the region who are co-sponsoring. We have come together and we are offering, because of our particular type of institution, degree completion programs in 3 areas, criminal justice, business, and nursing, that are of high employability in an area of high unemployment in our part of the state, so that we now are having the opportunity for young people, and the community colleges are coordinating all of that. We are using Cisco systems, high definition telepresence to teach some technical courses, doing nursing and engineering in advanced areas, which associate's degrees will then, we are even joint appointing faculty between UCCS and community colleges in remote areas which are having trouble getting master's level qualified faculty. So we're actually joint appointing and joint working in actually accreditation processes today as we speak for one of our community colleges. What this then ends up in is a system that goes from an AA in the RN degree at the community college. The BSN is available on all of the community colleges. The MSN is now available at the community colleges cooperating, and we will soon launch next fall the doctorate in nursing practice. So we're going to create a whole system among all of us, and we're very excited about this. We work well together. We care about what we're trying to do. Technology is a key component because of the distances, and a collaborative group of institutions. So I'm pleased to be here.
Do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Frank Chong. I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Community Colleges, and I'm just beaming with pride because this is what excellence looks like. And as a former community college president, I can't tell you how remarkable each and every one of your institutions do for our students, for our community, and for our country. And I just think I have the best job in the world because I get to represent and advocate on behalf of the people in this room who do on an everyday basis, up close and personal, even with all the difficulties in the economy and the world. They don't complain. They're out there leading, and I think this is leadership in action. So I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you do, and there's a reason you're here today. And I think just feel the energy and the excitement in this room. It is so impressive. And that's why the power of the media. We need to get this story out to the rest of the country. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and we will, because these are important stories to tell. I am going to have to leave you in the good hands of both Brenda and Jane, Assistant Secretaries at the Department of Education and the Department of Labor, respectively. But before I do want to echo what Frank was just saying, just listening to the diversity of the stories you tell, but there's certainly some common themes there about the work that you're doing. It just encourages all of us as we're here trying to support you and learning from what you're doing. And something the President Ward said a minute ago, that community colleges make America work. And it made me think of a comment my mother made to me some time ago. She grew up in a tiny town in Virginia near the North Carolina border and left to go to college. And in the town, there were cotton mills and tobacco factories. And when those industries started to dry up, you can imagine the economic turmoil that left in that particular community. And my mom said she always thought, if there had just been a community college there, that could have really turned things around. And several years ago, I remember talking to her on the phone, she said, there is now a new community college in this area. And, it's where she grew up. It's, my grandmother and my aunt and uncles lived there. But Mom had been living in Richmond for decades. But she was so proud of that and so happy for what that would do for the community. And that's what you're doing for your communities and the region and indeed the country, as you're educating workers in these really critical areas. So thank you for what you're doing. I'm sorry that I have to leave, but I'm leaving you in amazing hands with two women that I have had the opportunity to work with and are fabulous and are doing so much to make sure that we're supporting you. So thank you so much for being here. And congratulations.
Melody, we really want to thank you for also being a champion of community colleges, and so thank you very much for organizing this event and for your outstanding leadership. So thank you very much. So Jane and I have the great honor of really wanting to have a further discussion with all of you, and we're going to ask you some questions. And mind if I take a first crack at it, Jane?
No, as long as we recognize the man hiding behind everybody, Dr. Bumpus, who is, let me tell you, our reality check. Well, I don't know why you're not sitting at the table with a big crown on,
Why don't
but
you come on right here?
we really,
Well,
you really represent them well, and it would be remiss of us to let this meeting go without saying you do such a great job of holding, I'll speak for myself, my feet to the fire if I don't say the right things about community colleges. Thank you so much for your friendship and your partnership.
Please feel free, Walter, to come on up to the table if you'd like. So I'm the Assistant Secretary in the Office of Vocational and Adult Education, and I'd really like to know how many of you are working with your career and technical education institutions in your district, and what are the good?
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Good. What are the challenges? Is that an easy relationship? Is that difficult? And what can we do to support that creating of the pipeline from career and technical education to your community colleges?
Tennessee is very unique in that the state higher education has the universities. They have 13 community colleges with the Tennessee Board of Regents, and then they have 27 technology centers. And with the technology centers, we specialize in career and technical education and workforce development. And we work very closely with our secondary partners and to make that transition, and then work with our community colleges to get an AS degree in general technology as a partnership. But we're finding more and more technical students from high school finding out about our programs and coming, and they make the best students for us because they've already got the background. So we have a good partnership. We can always make things better, but
Sure.
Very pleased in Tennessee with the partnership we have with our secondary.
Great, thank you.
We've got a unique one. We have just provided a lease to the regional high schools to build a skill center on our campus. And we're at the table in terms of articulation and planning, so the high school students will have many more pathways in workforce preparation programs, which will articulate right in to college level.
At Cincinnati State, we've worked very closely with the Great Oaks campuses. And we started with a large project, and the challenge is that it takes so much time to build these partnerships, but with the support from the community and other sources, it works. So basically, Great Oaks had a very large practical nursing certificate, but it was non-credit. So we transitioned that into a credit certificate, and it's the Cincinnati State Great Oaks Practical Nursing Program. It's at the 4 Great Oaks campuses, but it's Cincinnati State facility now, a shared facility. Their instructors became our faculty. And now we're working to make sure that everything those students complete will transition into the RN program. because we don't want them to have the credit, but then they have to start all over again if they want the associate degree. So it's really a 1+1 program. We're looking at working with Warren County and Butler Career Tech, similar thing, 1+1, various programs. But the challenge is the work. I mean, it really takes extra administrative and faculty time.
Thank you.
Okay, it's
Barbara,
yes. We certainly have dual credit with each of our high schools that we serve, but the state of Kentucky, under the Kentucky Community and Technical College system, is in, we're collaborating with the Office of Adult Community and Career and Technical Education in Kentucky, and we are entering into a statewide agreement that will put each of the community colleges and the high schools that they work with or the area technology centers in the National Alliance of Currently Enrolled Programs accreditation process. That's going to assure student outcomes, faculty credentials, curriculums, that we can assure that the student that takes those in high school, it will be the same as if they were on a college campus. So that is a statewide initiative that we are very much ready to launch in Kentucky.
Go ahead, sir. Please.
No, you go ahead.
For me, let me take it a little different direction. I think we have many more opportunity to make sure that our young people understand that career technical education is a very viable track for them. I think right now sometimes we see young folks looking at out of high school and they say, well, I have to go to a 4-year college right away. And I think for us, we need to continue to emphasize that career technical education is not an end. It allows them to go on beyond that. So I think we have many more opportunity to emphasize that to our young people, that it is one very viable option beyond high school.
And I support that in Alabama, much as in Tennessee, the relationship is working pretty good. We have a statewide articulation agreement already in place for K-12 to the 2-year college, and then from 2-year college on to 4 years. So we've kind of gotten out of some of the agony of transferring from a 2-year into a 4-year. But even beyond that, we do letters of agreement with the local school districts, and we have managed to get 3 school districts to actually bring their students to campus 2 days a week for college credit that they get and they pay for, and the superintendents are very excited about that. In Alabama, they are having at the K-12 level some issues, obviously, around the country with funding. And so trying to do the career technical programs, they're short of instructors and in some cases equipment. And so we've tried to step in and provide the vehicle and the alternative for them through our instructors and through our facilities. And right now we've got 3 school districts that have bought into that, and they're getting their kids out. And we're banking the credit, hoping that when they do finish high school, they'll come on into the community college.
Madam Secretary, if I could talk about an unmet need where I think federal attention can make a difference. One of the difficulties that I think all of us experience is that in preparing young people for technical STEM fields, it's often difficult for them to imagine careers that don't yet exist. And try as we might to work together between our career and technical education and the community colleges and our universities, employers need to create work-based learning opportunities for our students. Long ago, we had cooperative education, which was steadily supported. Those have withered up and disappeared now. And nothing will make learning more significant or the relevance of a career more real than to be able to add that application through workplace learning. So if we had a way to incentivize employers to be partners with us in workplace learning, I think it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's come up repeatedly. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah. I'd like to add that in addition to working with the high schools and the younger population, one of the biggest challenges we have is with people who are losing their jobs or whose skills are not current with what's needed for the jobs of today and tomorrow. And again, it's providing the individual student and the employer with incentives, especially small companies that can't afford to release somebody for the time they need to develop these higher level skills close that match between what is needed now and the skill sets they might have had acquired even 5 years ago. The other challenge.
So what are you doing about that?
What we're doing is we created within the college professional development center where we're providing workplace training. Companies identify what their needs are, and we customize the curriculum for them and invite others to take part because there's a shared interest. So for example, we identified, everything's moving to the cloud. So VMware, who teaches that? But we had to put it right in these companies for them to be competitive. To do that, we're training people in computer networking engineering that supported networks in-house, but as the companies outsource that to companies that are cloud-based, who retrains them? It's a new set of partnerships. But it's hard for some individuals to just stop working on families, so whatever incentives they can do, but also there's a lot we're doing on our own because we're taking the training to the work site. And that's so critical. You take the training to the work site. And you get small companies, which is a bulk of our employers, working together and cooperating because they have a shared need that they can benefit and leverage from. The other thing is just what you're doing now, with a number of the initiatives, is for whatever focus you can put on is achieving, whatever students are taking, whether it's career tech, transfer, or anything, that average or good is not good enough anymore. It's global society. Today's good is tomorrow's mediocre, and it won't take long given global competition. And so it's essential, that's the message we're sending out now. We're changing our whole messaging campaign internally and externally, is the students have to be exceptional, but they have to be competitive. And so it's putting out average is not good enough. Good is not going to be good enough in today's and tomorrow's global economy. We have technology taking jobs away and global competition. It's critical.
Just a couple of short things. One is, let me echo Bob's comment. I think it's essential to create a human capital incentive in the tax structure. And it can play out in a lot of different ways. If I had my druthers, Bob, I'd love to see the workplace learning begin in high school. The best contribution the high schools can make to vocational education is workplace learning, because the students haven't decided where they want to learn yet. But they get all those work skills and begin to discern a purpose. And then when they come to us and know something about what their purpose is, and we can train them. Second is, it's a small thing, and I'm not sure whether the feds can help us with this or not. But as the states are defunding higher education, one of the casualties of that is dual enrollment, the acceleration mechanisms, because there's no revenue stream. Most of us are eating millions of dollars in costs to support those things. We know they work, and we're hanging on, hoping that someone will ride to the rescue and figure out a revenue stream for it. The first casualty of that is technical dual enrollment.
Very much so. Very much so.
And that's where it's needed most. Third little thing, one more thing, is back on the human capital strategy. If I could change one thing about our level of technical education, is that everybody enrolled would already be employed. It's backwards. In a previous life, I got out of the education business and got in the training business with our employer community. Went to the HVAC people in a large metropolitan area and said, I'm tired of recruiting people you don't want to hire anyway, putting them in classes they don't want to take, pushing them through a third to a halfway through the program, and then you hire them away and complain that they're not fully skilled. So I won't do it anymore. If you'll hire them on some kind of training wage, I will train them. Now when they don't show up to class, it's an employment issue, not an attendance issue. If they don't perform, it's an employment issue. And that's a very different, that's a European kind of environment for this thing. And I think tax code could help us move in that direction.
One of the things that's a challenge for us is distance. All of our campuses are so far apart, and we're rural, so there's not a big metro area in any one of our areas. And the opportunities for technical training and technical placement for these students is limited. What we have done is taken the 1+1. We do have 1+1 with area high schools and the college, but we've also done a community college to community college 1+1. We have 90 miles away, we have San Antonio with Alamo colleges, and they have Toyota in that area. They have a great advanced manufacturing program, and we have a lot of students in our area that are interested in it. There's no way that I could build and fund the laboratories necessary to train them. So what we do is we train them in basic electronics, hydraulics, mechanics for 1 year, transfer to their program where they get the advanced robotics training and hydraulic training at their system. And really what we have to do is take a step back and say, okay, what are we good at and what are they better at? And let's both work together and say, okay, let me do 1 year, maybe 1 semester, hand them off to you. There's no sense in the environment that we're at with very limited resources for us trying to duplicate that kind of technology.
One of the other challenges we're facing at a time that we all have increased enrollment, and at the same time we're having a decrease in revenue. We're being confronted with individuals coming to our college who really don't have the basic skills. The need for development education is just increasing. In the past 3 or 4 years, it's gone up like three times. We're finding that those who need just one developmental course is going down, but those who need 3 are going up. And it's individuals of all ages. And we used to think, well, it's not really the K-12 system, but it is. And one of the things that we find, perhaps maybe the federal government could help, and I think you've probably heard this before, but the funding streams between adult basic education and career vocational education really are not bridged well. And so what that means to us is we can take somebody in and put them, and they need some adult basic education or maybe GED, if we've got to begin to think out of the box and do some workarounds so that we can find out which funding stream could support that, and then figure out how we can get them into occupational career technical programs. And if we don't do it right, if we don't really do all these workarounds and make sure that we keep that student could go away, and we will lose that person, and we won't be able to be there when they need us, not only for short-term training, but for that career ladder, so that we can get them to the level that the president wants us to do, is get them certificates or degrees of value, and then encourage them to go on to baccalaureate degrees. So I think that's the thing that's the biggest challenge that we're faced with right now in our community. In addition to that, the literacy problem within the community itself. Big problem.
I've got one other short example I'd like to give. In these tough economic times, we've got to be entrepreneurial and look for alternative revenues. At the same time, Bob, I agree with you in terms of hands-on real work. So we've created enterprises throughout our workforce programs. Our Knowledge and Viticulture program has a 1,200 case production winery on campus. And we sell some of the best wine made in the world right there. We have an automotive dealership on our campus, and we repair hybrid vehicles. We remanufacture them for state agencies. I think we're up to about 60 this year. We have $1 million worth of projects fall quarter in line throughout the college, and in the diesel area and the irrigation water areas and so on. So it's a way of bringing real work experience into the campus, generating some money to upgrade your equipment, and it really raises the confidence and respect of the business community to see that you're practicing what you're preaching.
I just want to share with you the Mississippi model is a little different than what I'm hearing here. The career and technical responsibility falls under the responsibility of the community college. We're all one and the same, and so you choose the degree level that you choose on the career side, the technical side, or the academic side, and all can be articulated to the next level depending on your completion of those degrees. Our challenge is, and we've made great progress, is that we become the pre-employment training unit for all business and industry, that they don't hire anybody unless they come through our training programs. And we've made wonderful progress with many of the industries on the coast, certainly in the nursing area, in the fuel area with Chevron. They come through our programs before they ever apply at those industries. So we become their training arm. And so that validates what we do and ensures competent employee who has the skill sets they need to be successful.
And another great partnership with the WIN system, the WIN
Absolutely,
centers.
the WIN
Just like
Center.
you guys in Tennessee, just like Cincinnati, just like Kentucky, you know, you guys have, it's almost seamless when you go to one of your sites to know who works for the college and who works for the public workforce system. You really have gotten it down. And you've put it to the test in not only the oil spill, but Katrina before that.
I'm going to speak a little bit outside of the state systems because, as you know, with some exceptions, almost all of our 37 tribal colleges and universities are not part of the state systems. We're different kinds of animals. The states consider us private, and the federal government considers us tribal, and anyhow, we're kind of an odd piece in the whole makeup. Yet we work very closely with the state systems, I have to say, for the most part. With some exceptions. But really, for us, the three main agencies that we deal with are obviously the Department of Education, Department of Labor, and the Department of Interior's Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I think it's very important for those three agencies, among others, there are others, but those three for sure as lead agencies to develop a stronger interaction and perhaps even an MOU that relates to Indian country and relates to the issues of training and education, because those are our three major sources, both for things like everything from scholarships to loans to institutional kinds of investment in things like tribal colleges or even tribal government institutes that are training in nature. And so it's very important to look at that and how we deal with that population. We are doing work from our end among the tribal colleges on how we will continue to educate the 68,000 or more students that are growing in our systems and begin to address certificate, 2-year, 4-year, and ultimately graduate level kinds of programs. That's what we're doing at United Tribes. And so that interfacing, I think, is going to be very, very important. I just left a conference with the National Science Foundation, and they too are very, very critical to the science math areas as we build an infrastructure. And so looking at how we develop that infrastructure is going to be very, very critical. Certainly the immediate needs, I mean, in our case, we're responding to what we call the oil patch in North Dakota in terms of how we will develop and train people for that area. We're also looking at water and doing some things with respect to energy and that sort of thing. The allied health fields are another key and critical area. But I think that it's very important to get a picture of kind of an overall picture of how that's going to work and how we can move that population up and forward, because 51% of our population is now under the age of 25. And when you start looking at some of the different Indian reservations, Umatilla, for example, it's probably 51% or better that are now under the age of 18. So the challenge for us is to provide that good quality technical training as an outset for them, and then begin to look at how they grow up through the system of post-secondary development.
Thank you.
Let me piggyback on what Dick was saying about GED. We serve 600 to 700 folks in our district. Budget is tight, but for every of the graduates from the GED program, we offer them a free 3-credit course. For us, it's very important. It's not just for them to finish GED, but to entice them to try, because some of them, they don't think that they can make it, and especially some of them with lots of remedial and developmental ed requirements. But they have worked with us, they trust us, and we say, come and do more. For us, we see the upside, tremendous upside. Number one, sometimes it means the breaking of the cycle of poverty. But most importantly, we are contributing to sustaining communities. When we talk about jobs, we're talking about having people qualify for them, moving people beyond GED, and giving them a reason to stay. That 3-credit class is just giving them a reason to stay. And it's amazing what that does. So even though budget is tight, we don't see it as a cost. We see it as investing in human capital in our communities.
And I think that's the beauty for me of community colleges. I mean, a comprehensive nature. You do the college transfer, you do the career technical, you do the vocational, we do adult ed, GED, and we're in Birmingham, we're in an urban area. probably a 65% African-American, growing Hispanic population. So we do have our issues with literacy and poverty, obviously. And so working with the GED students and those who would be in that area, moving them to get their equivalency and then into the community college is just an absolute essential. I mean, it's just significant. If America's going to move, if Alabama's going to move, we've got to deal with the literacy issues in this country.
Yep.
I can't lose this opportunity because, you know, in 10 days we begin a new fiscal year. And I need many of you I know as grantees. Many of you have welcomed me on your campuses, and those that haven't, shame on you. No. No. But I really, really would like you to roll your sleeves up and tell me honestly what's worked as we've tried to push money out the door, and in the next fiscal year, what things didn't we hit last year that we should really concentrate on as we get new, whatever, they're all going to be smaller sources of funds than you need. I know that. So how do we put money out in a way that we're getting at solutions to your problems rather than making you write a proposal just so you get funded rather than doing what you need? So I'm going to start writing, so please tell me how we can improve it, because our SGAs and our solicitations should be meeting your needs, not meeting some amorphous need.
One thing that worked was, I think it was part of the community's package that came through DOL, at least in South Dakota, and that was taking WIA recipients and funding, retraining, getting them into, and it kind of tags along what you were just saying. You've got to give them an experience where they're successful. A lot of those people that were laid off were in their 40s and 50s. They weren't sharp high school students, and they're thinking this is never going to work. And they were funding specific training packages to get them into industries where there were needs, but it built that confidence. And that doesn't take huge amounts of money sometimes, but it targeted people who are long-term unemployed people, and then steering them, not letting them just take anything. They have to be taking something where there is a job outcome, where there's a need.
And you saw that in the president's package, that everything's going to be, if whatever Congress chooses to pass in it, will be targeted to people who are long-term unemployed, 26 weeks or longer.
It's critical.
On that, I think it's important that, given the targeted audience, that you might think a little longer term than a short-term training, because you're dealing with changes in life habits and learning. They need more time, and you can keep on supporting them if they stay on track. But 6 months is not going to do the trick. Those jobs will go away, and given the life-changing skills that we have to provide, so a longer stream of thinking.
So tell me, I mean, or think about it and get back to me later what you mean by that, because all of our grants since 2009 have said have to lead to an industry-recognized credential or a pathway toward a degree. So tell me, is that not getting at the longer term? Are your local areas still only sending you people for 6 months? Courses?
All of the funds, whether it be WIA, whether adult-based education, TANF, TAA, whatever, they need to be aligned so we can take the person from where they're at and take them to where we all want them to go, and that's completion. But right now, it is, you have to be creative and try to work in this particular grant or funding source, and then maybe you can fit them over here, or maybe we can fit them in some of the state funding sources. But we're having to really be creative, but we would like to have aligned and bridge all of those funding sources so that we can take the person from beginning to the end and over a period of time as well.
I'm not quite sure how to, that's the problem is, we all agree on the term alignment, and we think that there's flexibility in all of our laws for the local areas to do that.
But,
so because you just said WIA, formula, grant funds, and TAA, in my mind, a local area could align all three of those. I won't speak for Brenda's funding streams, but we're always working to do that. So it would be really helpful when you get home if you could just shoot me some specific examples, because it may be that I need to expand the horizon of your local workforce board to say that that, you know, TAA is 18 months, fully funded, from shoes to helmets and everything in between.
Which is wonderful.
You know?
Which is great.
Very
It's only one
helpful.
segment. It's only one segment.
Please God, the Senate's voting on it as we speak. I'm a little sweaty here, yeah.
But it's only one target audience.
Yeah, no, that's
right.
a big audience for you, and unfortunately in Flint, you know. But
If I may, I think that one of the challenges that we face at times is that we have to go through different spheres in order to be able to connect, in order to get funding. At times we have to go through certain boards and certain local groupings that are filtering in terms of the direct link and opportunity to the funding, and that at times does become a challenge. I think if there will be a mode in which you could facilitate the process so that there will be a more direct pipeline to the federal government instead of going through the different levels that we have, it's something that...
ask me an easy question.
Well, you wanted feedback.
Become the experts in how to sort of manipulate all of these funds so that it helps an individual. And what we really want to do is do what we're good at, which is providing the training and knowing that someone is there making sure that they hit that person at every point and can certainly serve them with the resources that are out there.
So I just need to...
This may be difficult to do, but I know with filtering sometimes means a lot of other things, and it does not always land where we want it to land. And if it's got certain RFPs involved, it's difficult to write for that. But if it were possible, as I understand the stimulus funds, we had more latitude to do some things with that.
Yes.
If somehow we could create some dollars that would be like stimulus, that we would do training.
The same mechanism.
The same mechanism where it would come to the institutions and we can make it work, and you could develop the parameters by which we can make some things happen to get people in, to train so many based on that amount of money. It wouldn't have to go anywhere else, but it could be training in our own local communities that we could work around.
But we're never going to have enough money to give 1,100 community colleges, even $1. You know what I mean? For what
technology centers.
Right, and 27 technology centers.
But
So
make it competitive. Make it.
Let us
you have to
compete,
write
but
for it.
directly through
You can't
you.
do everybody or everything, but I'd rather see some parts of the country thrive and survive and work than everybody to have to struggle.
I think it's well known that when students come to us, whether it is for vocational training or for technical training, what we have, it's not a pyramid. What we have is a cone. They start here and then we open their avenues of opportunities. And in that particular regard, the same thing needs to be applied in terms of our institutions so that we'd be able to do even a better job in that particular regard. Somehow everything is being filtered and channeled through very specific lines that at times are quite challenging to access.
could I know Brenda's trying to close
I know
out,
we are,
but
sorry.
could I'm sorry.
And the high signs are the key. We have to get,
So can I just ask that this be the beginning of a conversation? And would you funnel some examples, because you need to understand, you know, I'm going to do a little video like how a bill becomes a law from Schoolhouse Rock. But when Congress gives us the money in appropriations, they don't just give us the check. They give it to us in silos. And sadly, we then have to silo it out. So we get green training money, or we get sector training money, or whatever. But there's no reason that we can't make it as flexible as possible. But the more specific, as you're on your planes or in your car, if you could just send some very specific information so that we can kind of filter that into Frank and Brenda and I, because, you know, and may I just say, clearly, next week will be the announcement for the first round of TAACC, but hopefully we'll have another $1.5 billion, Congress willing. Please use that money as bait on a hook to get some of those people who make you jump through hoops. Go to them with the money and say, how do you want to write it? Because it may be the only time in my lifetime that you have $1.5 billion as a sector, thanks to the president and to the last Congress. You know, so use that as a conversation starter, because you don't have to ask for it. You're basically saying, we have the pen on this. What can we do for you? And then maybe it'll buy you some goodwill when you have to go to them.
We couldn't ask for a better friend than this administration and this president. And thank you very, very much.
President who gets it. It really is terrific.
Be the champion of community colleges.
And this is just the beginning of a conversation. I'm going to give you all my card as well. We want to constantly be in dialogue with you, how it is that we can continue to support all the wonderful work you're doing. Thank you for all the work you're doing.